Welcome to Moms Matters, and if it matters to moms, it matters to us. We're continuing on with our candidate series tonight, and we are pleased to have Greg Warnock. He is running for Senate District 11. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you. We know that a lot of things that happen, especially over the Capitol building, affect mamas, and they affect sometimes the food on our table or the taxes or our health care.
Yeah.
So it's important that we get some time with you and for you to share with us your vision and why you're running.
Okay.
So we've got 3 questions. Okay, we'll start with question number 1. Okay, the first question is really tough. Why are you running? What compels you to run and to continue to serve?
So that is a tough question because I've announced even this last week, I've said that I wish I had another year before I run.
Right.
Because I own a company that needs my help and our family needs some of my attention at the moment. And but unfortunately, races come when they come, and I'm in this district. And I don't think we can wait 4 more years. So I've decided to step out a little bit early from my plans. And I'm from Salem. I grew up here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I will. So I grew up east of town on a little farm. Went to Fruitland Elementary School and Waldo Junior High back then, middle school now, and North Salem High. Graduated from North in 1978 when I was 17 and joined the Navy immediately. Good job. And I spent 5 years active duty in the Navy. Military history a little bit. I was 5 years active duty and then 12 years reserve, a couple of years in the National Guard, and I'm currently in the Coast Guard Auxiliary. I met my wife here in Salem, and we got married and raised our kids here in Salem as well.
So how many kids?
We have 5 kids.
Okay.
Yeah, and 6 grandkids.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great family.
You like grandkids, I hear.
Love grandkids. We adore our grandkids. We adore our children.
Are they all close?
Unfortunately, they're not all close. I wish they were, of course, but no, our grandkids are, some of them are in Washington State in the middle of the state, and some are up on the North Coast, Clatskanie area, and then we've got one of our grands here in the valley.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like them around. Ours are scattered all over too, so it's not fun. So you've decided to run. What brought this all about?
So I'm not new to Salem politics. I've worked on 80 pieces of legislation. Whoa. That's more than most of the legislators, and I've written 60 of them myself. And we've passed 80% of those bills.
Nice.
So my experience is pretty in-depth. Our legislation was focused primarily around veterans and military families. But veterans have needs like everybody else, so the bills were in education and medical, healthcare, services, taxation, lots of different things, the same kinds of things we all go through.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. It's a sacrifice to work over at the building, and I think some people don't realize it. Like you just mentioned, you weren't quite ready to do, you'd love another year on the ground to get your family and your work and everything stable, but it's kind of like a baby. They come when they come, huh? They
come when they come, and because I have so much experience in the building, I'm not intimidated by that. So it's not a matter of whether or not I can do the job or jump right in and get active very quickly. It's really just a matter of life priorities. And but Oregon needs some help right now. And the reason why I'm running is because I have a skill set that I believe we need in this state to help fix some of our problems. I'm a program manager by trade, and a program manager is a project manager with lots of programs, or lots of projects under one umbrella. And I've worked on programs, multi-million-dollar projects, and I've overseen from design to delivery on those projects, stay within budget and on time, on schedule. And so that's something we need in the Capitol.
I was going to say, that might be a different life over there, right?
Yeah, it is. And I've experienced that over there, of course. But what the thing that a program manager does as a primary skill set is risk management and dealing with root cause analysis. So when there's a failure in a program or failure in a product, or in a process, we have to evaluate what the root cause of that is and then start working on fixing those root causes rather than fixing the symptoms. And in government, I think the problem we have, in this state especially, right now, is we're throwing money at symptoms and we're not solving the state's problems. And because I focus on root causes, I think I can help with that. I was successful in a lot of legislation. And the reason for that is because I focused on what the real issues are and didn't play politics much. I focused on advocacy rather than political strategy. And advocacy makes bills work. It allows for bipartisan collaboration. And if you don't focus on the politics, you focus on the actual issue, there's success involved. And it results in success.
We need bipartisan things. I
Absolutely.
mean, it's the only way we're going to get anywhere in the state, right?
Yeah.
It's just to reach across the aisles. I do a lot with education and similar. You know, it's a bipartisan. Everybody's child needs to be educated, and every parent wants their child to be educated how it fits their child, not what maybe the blueprint says that it's supposed to look like.
Oh my goodness. How many of our agencies and government functions focus on a blueprint association and try to make everything fit within that? I think we need to have better conversations. I think we need to focus on our issues, and we need to keep people first, politics later.
People first.
People
what a
first.
Novel idea.
Well, it's the way I've raised my family.
That's right.
It's the way I've run my business. It's the way I've focused on my advocacy. And it's the way I'm running for office, too.
And that makes a world of difference. I know because I work in the building. And, you know, when you make it personal and you care, you know, we just said, I don't care how much you know till I know how much you care.
I say that all the time.
Well, and I love it because it's so true. We raise our kids to be who we expect them to be. We set the value system, we set the traditions, and we send them out, and sometimes they just get sideswapped with what other people think is correct and how you treat people. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what your district boundaries are? What areas will you cover?
So Senate District 11 covers Northeast Salem, a little cutout by Quan's in Southeast Salem. In fact, I think the governor's mansion is in the district.
Okay.
So there's a little cutout there, but it's Highway 22 primarily north through Woodburn. On the I-5 corridor boundary and 99. So it's kind of narrow. Long. It encompasses a big portion of Salem, all of Woodburn, all of Jervis, and Brooks. And
so you have a lot of agriculture, you have some businesses.
Yeah, so our district there's a lot of diversity, not just in trades, but also with the people who live here. And it's not easy to say that it's a lot of this or a lot of that. It's really not. It's a lot of everything. Yeah. And that makes this pretty exciting, and it makes campaigning exciting too.
I was going to say, have you visited some really fun places?
Oh yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, that's a really nice area though. You pick up a little bit of everything, like you said, and everybody needs help. Well, we're going to take a break for a second. And then we'll come back and we have a couple more questions.
Nice going, Spencer! I can't believe we broke Old Man Hennessy's window.
Correction, dude. You broke. I just threw the ball.
This is really bad. What are we gonna do?
We?
Go to the door, ask for the ball back. Are you serious?
It's my ball, Myrtleback.
You're so dead. I'd run away.
Yeah, to Uruguay.
Kiss your life goodbye. Sorry.
Let's go. See ya, dude. See ya. Remember me and your well.
Nice one. Some friends you are.
Keep smiling, keep shining.
Hi. Tell him it was an accident, and we can fix the window. Come on. I'll come with you.
Loyalty. Pass it on.
You go first.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Welcome back to Moms Matters, and if it matters to moms, it matters to us. We're in our candidate series, and today we're interviewing Greg Warnock, and he is running for Senate District 11. Welcome back, Greg.
Thank you.
We are excited to have you. We visited a little bit. Would you tell me a little bit more about your area? Maybe some of the cultures, things that you see?
Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, I grew up here in Salem, and so I'm familiar with the state capitol being here and all the government agencies. That's prominent in our district. But I grew up on a small farm east of town and in a little bit of a rural community, and learned how to drive a tractor way before I learned how to drive another vehicle. I didn't like farming very much. That's why I probably joined the Navy when I was 17. But the community is extremely diverse. I've been spending time with groups who are settling here in the valley that are, for example, the Marshallese. I don't know if you know that there are lots of people, islanders from the Marshall Islands here in Salem. Okay.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
There's a large Indian and Pakistani community here. There's a Japanese community here. In fact, one of the leaders in the Japanese community wants to start a Japanese elementary school here in town, and I think that's a fabulous idea.
That's awesome.
I would support that completely.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And we have, of course, Latinos, and we have a giant Russian community. And I've connected with the Russian community differently than I think any other politician, because I'm not really a politician. I'm an advocate for people and their issues. And so as I talk to the different groups in their homes and on their front porches and in meetings that we've held together, I found that we all have a love for Oregon. We all have a love for this community. This district is a fabulous connection of lots of cultural diversity, and I'm really enjoying that.
That's great. And I bet that is really interesting to see the different dynamics, you know, and how they support each other. And you see family-rich, thick traditions,
Absolutely.
I bet, from the different countries. That would just be rewarding in itself. Ready for question 2?
Sure.
Okay, question 2 is, what is it about your background and your personal experiences, or should we say your story, that makes you a good candidate and consequently a good and successful elected official? Now, if that isn't a mouthful, I don't know what is.
So that's part of my challenge in this race, because life can be messy. I have 5 kids. We've raised them all. We've been very close as a family. I'm an entrepreneur, so I've had multiple businesses. I've had failure. I've had a lot of failure in my life. I've had successes. And I'm of the belief system that says you must continue on. You need to keep pushing ahead. And I've had some challenges in the last decade. Most people who do a little bit of research on me or about me find that I had a battle with the Attorney General of the state of Oregon.
Ooh.
He went after a bunch of people, most of the agency heads and a lot of legislators, and I was included in that. And for 4 years, I fought John Kroger by myself.
Oh my
and that was challenging. It broke us in a lot of ways to go through that entire process. But here's what I have to say about that. I could just go away and hide, but that's not in my character. That's not in my DNA. What this has done, what my experiences have done, have made me an empathetic person, more so than I have been in the past. And it's given me passion to help people who find themselves in difficulties that might be caused by state overreach, government overreach, prosecutorial overreach, which we've experienced, and retaliation from agencies. And I know a lot of people in our community have experienced things like these. And so I'm going to be a person who sits at a desk and talks to people and votes on things that has a very deep passion and understanding for people of everyday life.
Yeah.
Not just somebody that comes here from, the ivory tower or some other place where they can proceed, in their cases over everybody. I'm going to be with people. I am with people, and my legislative processes and my ability to communicate with people will be based on that empathy.
I can hear it throughout your talk. The thread that I'm seeing is personal touch,
Yeah.
personal care, right? You know, like we said, I don't care how much you know till I know how much you care. And I think people feel that when they meet people like you, because you're down, I don't want to say down to them, but down to earth, you know, because you feel like I really want to help, and I have experience to help, and I have a heart to help. And if I can do those things, then I think it goes a lot further than just, you know, kiss babies and shake hands. Is that what
I
they
love that
say?
part too.
Yeah. Well, I love to kiss the babies.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all over that. I would do that in a heartbeat. So tell me a little bit more about what your vision is as being in this position.
Okay. As I approached the idea of running, I came to a very quick conclusion. I don't have all the answers.
Oh.
And I'm not going to stand at any pulpit or on any platform and say I've got all the answers and you should vote for me because of that. But what I do have is a process that works, and I've worked in this process for a lot of years, most of my life, and I can solve problems. So taking an approach of let's talk about our issues, let's find out what the root causes are of our problems, and let's start working together to fix some of those things. And let's be creative in doing that. I do that as an entrepreneur. I'm doing that as my company. I'm a part owner of a renewable energy company. It's an energy solutions company. So there's lots of problems with renewable energy in our state particularly.
Okay.
And so we came to a group meeting recently and said, we can fix some of those things. Let's start pulling away at some of the problems and seeing what we can fix. We're now launching a pretty good size IPO to start a solution for renewable energy in the Columbia River Basin. It's very exciting.
That sounds exciting.
So I'd like to be able to apply the same kinds of processes that I apply in engineering and in my business, and as I applied in my advocacy for veterans for many years. If I apply those kinds of processes, then I think we can make some headway on our problems. I don't think we're making any headway. Like I said earlier, we're throwing money at the symptoms of our problems. We're passing the buck to the next session or the next certainly the next generation. And I don't see that as being successful. When you look at the agencies, the catastrophic failures we've had in our state in a variety of areas, education. You know, I went to public schools here, and I don't like the process or the approach of education today. And we need to fix some things there. And I would want to help fix those things.
Can I push on that
Yeah,
button
push
for
on
a
that
second?
before I go to the next
Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do?
Yes.
We'll get into it again later, but
Okay.
I just kind of why we're here.
So I support public education. Some conservatives don't. Some conservatives wish we could go to charter schools, homeschools, voucher programs. I'm not opposed to a voucher program, actually. I think that could be helpful, as it's been in places like Washington, D.C., and other places where they've struggled with education. But what I think we need is to lower the classroom numbers by having trade schools and having technical schools and provide training outside of the normal curriculum. As we do that, I think we can lower some of our classroom sizes and find some successes. By the way, Woodburn, the high schools in Woodburn are incredible. They're some of the best schools in the state. And so what I'd like to do is pull some of the great ideas out of the success stories and see how we can apply those at the state level for the rest of our high school.
Kids need help. You know, they need a right path. They need things to work.
Sure.
Well, we'll be right back with Greg Warnock, running for Senate District 11, and we'll talk to you in a minute.
Happy birthday!
That's wonderful. Thank you, dear, very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You make me feel so young. You make me feel so spring has sprung. And every time I see you,
You're not fooling anybody you know. Think young. Pass it on.
the moment that you speak.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Welcome back to Moms Matters, and we are here in our candidate series, and we're on our third segment with Greg Warnock, and he is running for Senate District 11. Greg, it's been fun. We're on the bottom stretch here.
I've enjoyed this very much.
It's been fun. I love to get to know you guys. And I think it's so good for our moms to be able to see really what you're like. Because I think sometimes they just read things in the paper, you know, and then they're like, I don't know who to vote for. I don't know what he really believes. So this is a good time for you. All right. Is there anything before I do section 3 that you'd like to share?
One of the things I was going to mention is in order to help solve some of the challenges we have in the state, and I'm not a person that's coming to this candidacy with all the answers in my head.
Right.
As I've been meeting people, I've had people say, you know, I'd like to talk about this or that. So people have done that with mental health, for example, or foster care, areas in our state that are totally failing. 50th in the whole country rated that. I mean, it's terrible. So having experts in their field come to the table and say, these are the things that I see, and maybe we can talk about some policies that we could adapt and then convert those policies into legislation in the future. So that's my process. It's not really about proclaiming we have all the answers and then go try to bully those solutions to people. We're bringing experts into our solutions.
Well, and I think that's so awesome because it's their needs, right?
It is, sure.
And they're coming to you and saying, not only do we have this problem, but we maybe see a way to fix it if you can be part of that plan. And I think, again, that does the heart to heart, and I care, and where we're stabilized. I love it. Sounds great.
I would say, you know, I am easy to talk with, and I'm very approachable, but I can also be firm. And so I want to make sure people know that you don't get 80 pieces of legislation through the legislature because you're just a nice guy. I am a nice guy, but I also know how to deal with the process, and so I can be firm and stand on my own 2 feet and work with people in a very effective advocacy role.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head because you do. You have to be able to work both sides of the aisle.
You do.
So you have to have good ears and you have to listen and try to collaborate. But then when right is right, you hold your guns,
you
right?
Need to,
And you learn that in the military.
You do.
You know?
Absolutely.
We can give and take a little bit.
And as parents.
Yeah, well, brother, do we learn that? Here's the line.
They gotta have the lines.
That's right, and they love those lines. Okay, here's question 3. What do you think is the most important problem or issue facing Oregon today? What will you do to address this problem or issue?
Well, that's how do you come to one answer?
And there might not be.
So I don't have one, but I do have a bullseye, if you will.
Okay.
Our state has a unique problem that we're facing with the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake that's ready to bust off the coast any second. So we're 318 years in a 243-year cycle. And when we all enjoy seeing Haystack Rock and how beautiful that is, it's wonderful. But 318 years ago, that was in the middle of a forest. I don't think most people understand how challenging this is going to be. So I've read the resilience plan for the state of Oregon. Our company has actually made proposals for energy resources to the coastal communities to survive in place after that occurs or in any natural disaster. Our company's actively involved in helping with that, making proposals for those solutions. But as we talk about the infrastructure in our state that's going to be destroyed, I think there's 2 bridges in the state that have some earthquake resilience. Everything else does not. And those that do, the approaches to the bridges will fail. And so the bridge may sit there, but you can't use it. And so we have a lot of issues with regard to infrastructure in the face of this natural disaster that's just sitting there waiting to happen. So what are we going to do about that? I think we can combine a few things to solve that problem and also raise some funding for education and for our PERS issue, which is a
let's just talk about that.
oh my goodness, that's that really stops all of the agencies from being successful. It stops our education processes from being successful because we have so much debt on PERS. But we also have natural resources in our state that we've not tapped for decades. And by natural resources, I'm talking about timber. With the forest fires that we've had over the last couple of summers, and no end in sight for the next few summers, I'm developing a 12-year plan to help us fix the forests in such a way that the large forest fires won't occur. So there'll be some thinning, there'll be some fire breaks, cut the underbrush and so on, and we can help repair our forests. It's called forest management. And we haven't used forest management. There's been a policy on the federal level to let it burn. That's the policy in the federal forests, and 70 to 80% of our forests are federal forests. So I'm going to propose that we lease back our federal forest lands and do our own management properly in this state. And while we're doing that, sell enough timber to pay off some of our debts. And I think we can do that over a 12-year period without, I'm not talking about clear cutting, I'm not talking about, disaster. I'm talking about good management, the kinds of things that Mother Earth Magazine focuses on, for example. They've got great ideas about how to do this. And you know what? They're not stupid ideas. They're great ideas. And we need to apply those here in this state.
Yeah, we do have a lot of resources, and we've had some bad fires. Some of the men that work in the building, or some of those firefighters that go out and give their all and lay their lives down, and things just run rampant.
We have so much burned timber, downed timber that just sits there that you can't get in because it takes a 3-year permit to get into federal land to harvest, even on downed timber. 3 years later, it's no good for harvesting. So it's wasted. And there are some groups in the world and in our country and even in our state that like that idea. Let it burn. And I think the waste needs to be mitigated, and I think we need to capitalize on what we have in this state to help solve some of our financial problems.
I liked when you talked about the bridges too. I think that's been a big thing for me. I did emergency preparedness. And
great.
I live out by Sheridan, by the coast, and I can't get my kids home.
Right.
Well, I could get them, but it would be a trick and a trek, and we're just not prepared. The schools aren't prepared, the communities aren't prepared, and it really worries me because we've tried to do backpacks. We've done those in schools in other areas where every child had the same thing, so you didn't have that controversy. Joey has steak and you have Cheerios. And it just doesn't seem to buy interest,
I have an entire plan with regard to resiliency and to survive in place. And as a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary, we are all focused about emergency preparedness. My military background does the same thing. It kind of makes us Boy Scouts, right? Be prepared for everything. And so I think if I have an opportunity to serve, which I enjoy, I'd like, and I think would be effective, we'll definitely be focusing on emergency preparedness a lot differently than the way this state's working now.
Well, that's perfect. Greg, thanks for coming today.
You're welcome.
Now's your opportunity to talk to your public. And is there anything you want them to know about you or about your campaign?
Sure. So my campaign's difficult. It's challenging. I'm running against the legend in the Senate, but I have a lot to offer. And because I grew up here and because I raised my family here, I have some empathy about what we need for this community. And I'll bring that as the next state senator for District 11.
Well, thanks, Greg. We had a great visit. I enjoyed getting to know you. So remember, moms, if it matters to moms, it matters to us. And we'll see you real soon.